Want to travel to the Czech Republic this year in 2022 around the pandemic? Stay tuned because I'm going to tell you how I did it solo in 2021.
It would be a complete shame to miss going to the Czech Republic in 2022. Hi there, I'm Gwen Corey with CORR Travel, the site to help those over 50 stay adventurous through solo travel. I've been traveling solo for over 26 years and still loving it. And if you're hoping to go to the Czech Republic this year, then you're in the right place because I was just in the Czech Republic in September of last year. And in this video, I've got 7 must-know pandemic travel planning tips for you. In addition to this video, I'm also providing you links to my Czech Republic travel guide, COVID and eco travel tips, and other links I use to get to the Czech Republic, which I'll cover in this video. If you're new to CORR Travel and want to hear how I traveled solo to other European countries last year during the pandemic, or want access to great travel itineraries and solo travel tips, and more, go ahead and hit the subscribe and the little button below to get notified when new videos are posted on CORR Travel for your solo travel needs. So without further ado, let's dive into my 7 do not miss tips for planning your solo trip to the Czech Republic in 2022 during the pandemic. Tip number 1, be fully vaccinated. And if you're not, you may want to reconsider going to the Czech Republic this year. Despite the obvious reasons of protecting yourself and others, let's just talk about travel feasibility. When I went to Czech Republic last year, they were allowing those from the US and other countries unvaccinated to enter with a negative COVID test. And at the time of making this video, that still holds true. However, Czechia also appears to be making unvaccinated persons test a second time after entry. Currently, vaccinated persons with a booster shot do not have to test for entry into the Czech Republic. Plus, you never know if a new COVID variant is going to pop up or your country suddenly lands on the high-risk list, which could sway Czechia to only let vaccinated people enter or make those unvaccinated quarantine upon entry, even if they pass a COVID test. So being fully vaccinated is not only safer, it makes travel easier and it's less expensive. And for vaccinated people, confirm your vaccination type and dates adhered to the Czech Republic's entry rules. I'll cover how to find out that in tip number 3. Also, make sure you have the correct documentation to prove your vaccination. And if you're from the EU, you're all good with your EU digital COVID certificate. And if you're from the US, don't stress. All I used for the Czech Republic was my white hard copy CDC card that showed my name, dates of all vaccinations, and the type of vaccination I got, like Moderna, Pfizer, or Johnson & Johnson. Tip number 2, consider when to go. Avoid going during the high summer season, June through August, if you can. Remember what happened last summer when many countries were on lockdown and then they lifted the travel restrictions right before summer, which is probably going to happen again this year. Many European cities were inundated with tourists. Keep in mind, it's not just people from your country that are wanting to get out and travel again. People from practically all countries are wanting to get out and travel again. And everyone is dealing with their own set of travel restrictions dictating where they can and can't go. Plus, top locations, like the Czech Republic, will just be crowded in general in the summer, and prices are always higher in the summer anyway. I recommend going to the Czech Republic either by May or after the summer months. Tip number 3, know the entry rules for Czech Republic. As the saying goes, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And this is very true when it comes to navigating the COVID travel rules for the Czech Republic, or for any country in Europe for that matter. Researching country COVID restrictions and rules initially consumed half of my time planning for the 7 countries I visited last year. But once I figured out where to find the information, that time scaled back considerably. and my 2021 research is going to help you save time this year. I ultimately narrowed my focus down to 4 websites: United Airlines and Ryanair's travel restriction pages, the U.S. Embassy and Czech Republic site, because I'm from the U.S., and the Schengen news site. All of these links I'm providing you below. Why these 4 sites? I had already found the necessary COVID travel information through the Czech Republic's websites before the airlines started posting their own travel restriction pages. So when I saw the same information on the airline sites, I knew they were good to use going forward, including for accessing any testing and/or quarantine information, and getting access to Czech Republic's passenger locator form, which can be a little tedious to fill out, but it's needed to be completed prior to boarding your flight to Czech Republic. And the United Airlines restriction map is even more robust than it was when I used it last year for planning, so this is a bonus for you. Although I normally consult my country's embassy websites for pertinent safety information first as a solo traveler, as time passed, however, I was finding that the Schengen news was providing more accurate and up-to-date information on travel restrictions and COVID updates, like COVID infection rates, within Europe, which was conflicting with what the US was reporting. So for planning purposes and while traveling, I continually checked the Schengen news first, and then used the US Embassy site only to back up what was being posted on the airline websites. Now, I'm not saying to ignore your country's embassy information. However, if I had only used the US's information and not the Schengen news, I would have ended up staying at home in 2021 and missing out on a great solo trip around Europe, which included Czech Republic. So, just saying. This leads me to tip number 4, and the saying, hope for the best, but plan for the worst. Book your airline tickets well in advance. I cannot stress this enough. And if you haven't booked already, book now. Why? Well, choices for one. Airlines have drastically reduced their number of operating flights, so this gives you even less dates and times to choose from than normal. I can't tell you how many times my flights got changed last year alone. Airlines are doing what they have to do to stay in business during COVID, and you need to be able to roll with the punches. So be flexible and add in additional layover time, and don't book any job commitments or other travel arrangements close to your flight arrivals or departures. The more buffer you give yourself, the less stress you will have. Trust me. Use your airline miles when booking. Due to new strains of COVID causing constant changes and rules in Europe last year, I had to change my outbound flight to Europe 3 times. By using my airline miles, my mileage account was immediately refilled when I had to cancel a ticket, and then I can turn around and buy a new one right then. If you don't have airline miles, first check to see whether you'll get a refund or travel voucher from the airline if you need to cancel or change a flight. By now, you're probably wondering, Gwen, if I'm looking at possible changes or cancellations, why should I book now? Prices. The airlines are more than likely going to need to increase ticket prices to make up for all the recent flight cancellations. And it's a good bet that airline flights to and from the Czech Republic are going to be at their least expensive the earlier in 2020 you book, with prices just getting higher as the weeks tick by. And as more and more travel restrictions lift, so will ticket prices. Last, with fewer flights already, they're more apt to sell out. And don't assume just that with less restrictions means more flights. Remember how companies are having staffing shortages? So don't forget that these are not normal travel times. So until COVID is no longer a consideration, just plan for the worst. And if you've already booked and there happens to be a change, the airline will at least put you on a different flight so you have a seat. Remember, you've already built in your flexibility for your schedule to allow this, right? And here's a little eco tip. If you need to travel between cities within the Czech Republic that only have, say, a couple of hours of travel time duration, book a train or a bus instead of flying. Not only could it save you time from airport security or save money on checked baggage fees, it's also a lot prettier form of travel. Plus, many EU countries are now trying to reduce or even ban short-distance flights in order to fight climate change, so this is a good habit to get into. What goes for tip number 4 goes for tip number 5. Like airline availability, hotels, hostels, and the like may also fill up quickly, especially if you're going in the summer season, and this will drive up prices. Reserve now and make sure you book with a 100% free cancellation option as close to your check-in date as possible. Yes, this could increase your cost slightly for your solo travel, but it is worth the peace of mind just in case you have to cancel. Like I did when the Netherlands decided at the last minute to make vaccinated Americans quarantine for a minimum of 5 days, thereby wiping out my 5-day itinerary in the Netherlands. And this was done just 4 days before my departure. So yes, I was really upset when this happened, but I was so thankful to have saved hundreds of dollars with my free cancellation policy. Also, don't be afraid to communicate with your hotel or hostel beforehand. I emailed mine often to check up on local COVID restriction updates or dining and activity tips they had. They were very helpful. Your hotel wants you to have the best experience while traveling in the Czech Republic, so let them help you. Tip number 6, know the local rules. Masking seemed mandatory on public transportation and in hotels and the airport, but optional in restaurants and bars and shops, and there were no curfews to speak of. Still, it is possible they could have implemented some local COVID rules or restrictions since last year. Check this out, and also confirm if any airports and/or airlines have additional COVID rules, like specific mask types, even if you're only connecting through Czechia, so you can pack accordingly. Use the airline links I provide or your booked airlines websites so you can go further on a little bit of research to know the do's and don'ts of traveling in Czechia. Again, contact your hotel for tips or checking out a city's official tourism website. These are great ways to get to know the local information or also knowing if an attraction may be closed due to COVID. And don't forget to be kind to the locals and those working the transportation systems. It's not their fault if something gets canceled or delayed due to COVID. Remember that they're dealing with the same obstacles just like the rest of us. This brings me to the last big item to cover, which is travel and health insurance and COVID testing. Do you really need to buy travel and health insurance for your trip just because of COVID? First, you should check to see if health insurance is a requirement for entering the Czech Republic, which at the time of this video, it is not. And this is the same as it was last year. Traveling with medical and travel insurance is advised in order to cover any emergencies on your solo travel. In fact, I did get such insurance for my entire trip to Europe last year, and I never used it. And I didn't contract COVID. Still, it was a nice backup. I'll leave it to you in your discretion on whether you want to purchase it or not, and I've provided you a link to the service for the insurance site I used below. As for COVID testing, first check the airline websites to see what type of COVID testing is required for entry to the Czech Republic and for returning to your own country before booking, and check the prices. Don't worry if you can't get your hands on an authorized home COVID testing kit to take with you because you may not need it. Email your hostel or hotel in advance to see if they can arrange testing for you or where the nearest testing site may be and the cost. My Madrid hotel arranged my COVID testing for my entry to Portugal, all for the same cost as an authorized home testing kit. So you never know if your hotel in Czechia may do the same. It doesn't hurt to ask. That wraps up my top 7 tips on how to do pandemic travel planning for the Czech Republic. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to check out all the helpful links I provided you below for further insights to get the most out of planning your upcoming trip to the Czech Republic. And if you like this video and want more, stick around. Click that subscribe button below and the little bell to get notifications on the upcoming videos. and feel free to share with others. I hope you have as much fun in the Czech Republic this year as I did last year. Bohem!